Great, Marcin. Marcin, if you could please do the roll call for us, please, to get us started.
Yes, please. I will do that. And I received a notification that Ms. Feltry and Mr. Philpott will not be able to participate today. So Stephen Hernandez.
Here.
Brian Ritter.
Here.
Paul Lombardo.
Here.
And CC Woods.
Here.
Thank you. And Mr. Chair, there is no public comment.
Okay, thank you very much. And could we have the members of the staff also introduce themselves for the purpose of acknowledgement?
Tammy Hendricks, Director of Health Equity and Outreach. James, I was waiting for you.
Oh, my apologies. James Michelle, CEO of Access Health Connecticut.
Caroline Lee, Director of Marketing, Access Health Connecticut.
Sean Carbone, Director of Shop and Product Development, Access Health.
Susan Rich By, Director.
Sorry.
Susan Rich By, Director of Legal and Governmental Affairs, Access Health Connecticut.
And Marcin Olechowski, Governance Specialist, Access Health Connecticut.
So let's move to the next part of our agenda, the acknowledgement of minutes. May I have a motion to approve the minutes?
So moved, Grant
So
Ritter.
moved. Seconded, CC Woods, yes.
Thank you. With a motion and a second, if you have reviewed the minutes, are there any comments, additions, deletions? Hearing none. Marcin, could we take a roll call vote on the minutes?
Yes, Mr. Chair. Stephen Hernandez. Mr. Hernandez, are you in favor? Thank you. Brian Ritter.
Yes.
Paul Lombardo.
Yes.
And CC Woods.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you for that. And we have a robust conversation today on the Broker Academy walkthrough. So without further ado, I'd like to now hand the reins over to James Michel and to you and your staff to give us the presentation and start our discussion.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. I think as we've stated in the past, as we are developing the infrastructure to develop this program, we would come back to the committee and give you updates. And this is probably one of our initial update on the entire program and how it's evolving, how it's developing. We're hoping that you will give us your input, guidance, as well as we will share with you sometime in the near future. We may enlist some of you to help us do recruiting, not just for potential brokers, but also for organizations that could help us execute our project plan going forward. So please, again, absorb it. After each speaker speaks, we will open it up for questions. And we're going to do it in 3 parts. After each part, we'd encourage you to ask questions that you may have as we move forward. So with that said, thank you. I'm going to turn it over to to Tammy to start the conversation. Thank you.
Thank you, James.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sorry for if you hear any loud noises. They're doing construction on my street. So please excuse the noise. So today we will be reviewing our plan for the Broker Academy in more details. I know it was really high level overview at our last meeting, but today we'll go through some more details on recruitment, training, and placement. And really our goal, through this academy, there are a few desired outcomes, but most important to note, the Broker Academy will actively address both parts of our mission, right? Reducing the rates of the uninsured by increasing access to local trusted brokers, and also helping to address health disparities in underserved communities. So more individuals will have access to health insurance, and generally this translates to better access to care. So this academy helps us address the critical parts to our mission first and foremost. But there are other desirable outcomes as well, right? Through the program Access Health, as an organization, will be more recognized as a trusted and knowledgeable resource for all things related to health insurance, becoming more of a resource for brokers, for community organizations, and for consumers, especially those in hard-to-reach communities. So we will be utilizing our brand and our partnerships to positively impact communities throughout Connecticut. But most importantly, this program will provide economic benefits, jobs, income to these individuals, especially those from historically underserved communities, providing them with free training, a new career, a career that positively impacts the health of the communities they live in, also providing an opportunity to become a licensed broker with the support of Access Health Connecticut from start to finish, right? This is significant because typically individuals have to navigate this process alone. So the Broker Academy really changes that. And finally, this pathway will benefit communities by providing access to trusted local brokers. And this is the true end goal for this program. Again, you know, the idea is to have brokers that members in the communities can trust, ultimately playing a part in offsetting health disparities by increasing insured lives in historically marginalized communities. So this is really the first step to addressing health disparities in underserved communities. After becoming insured, there could be more room for conversations pertaining to health. Next slide, please. So today we have some updates as we've made more progress working through our project plan since our last meeting. First, John will be providing an update on the timeline we have set for the first class in more details. We've included multiple departments in our recent discussions to make sure that this timeline makes sense, especially for our internal training department. Caroline will go through the recruitment process, which includes how we will engage our community partners to promote the program and the application process. And I will walk us through the training process as well as the plan for placement after licensing. And John, I'll pass it over to you.
Thanks, Tammy. John Carbone, Director of Shop and Product Development. Today I'm here to basically just go over the timeline for our calendar year 2022. What we're going to end up doing is talking throughout this entire presentation a little bit about three of the main functions. And Tammy and Caroline, as they give their presentations, they're going to give a little more detail on each one of the functions. And three of the major functions are recruiting, our training and development of these individual students, and the placements of these individual brokers, hopefully after they've kind of gone through the whole process. As you can see from start to end, this is a January to December program, so it is a 12-month program, but we're excited to kind of go through all the necessary steps. So I'm going to give you the 150,000 feet view of this right now. And to start off our very first cohort, we're going to focus on Bridgeport, New Haven, and Hartford. And we feel that these areas will help us expand the health insurance in those underserved communities, and it should help increase medical services and access to care in these communities. So with that being said, our first class will begin June 1st, 2022. They will go through a 2-day class and go through the program and take all the necessary steps to get themselves educated. Now, again, I'm going to be very, very high level on this, and Tammy and Caroline throughout this presentation will give you a little more detail, put a little more meat on the bone. As they go through this course, it'll be a 2-day course with a licensed agency that allows them to go get to be able to be certified, to be able to take the test. That course will end on June 3rd, and then they will begin to start studying after they pass their pre-licensing class. They will begin to start studying for their state licensing test. We're going to give probably a 2 to 3 week window in this process. and we're scheduled for them to take this test by July 31st. Now, it could vary. Individuals can take the test at different points as they feel comfortable with the information that's being provided. Once they pass this test, we begin our 3-month apprenticeship program from August 1st to October 31st. And we're really excited about this because this helps them get in contact with a broker, helps them understand the process, the marketplace, helps them understand what Access Health does, and also what other things are out there in the community that can help them through the process and becoming a skilled broker. It's super important that we put these individuals in a great in a great environment so they can develop that fantastic foundation and that strong foundation to build on and become an successful broker to help out their communities. Once they get through that program, they basically start through the process and the post, and they start going out there and selling in October, November, and they start getting out there and working with them. And then we have our post-apprenticeship program, which is 90 days after, which starts from November 1st all the way to enrollment OE10. We're excited to kind of go through this process. These are tentative timelines, but we feel that we've kind of talked through them a lot. There may be some tweaking here or there, so we'll keep everybody, up to date, and we'll go from there. But next slide. Caroline?
Hey, Caroline, before you go,
Okay.
are there any questions for John or for us with respect to
I apologize.
the timeline?
I just want to say that it's appropriately ambitious. I love it.
Excellent.
Thank you. Thank you. Caroline?
Sure. Caroline Lee, Director of Marketing here at Access Health Connecticut. As Tammy mentioned, community engagement is a cornerstone of this program. And as John mentioned, recruiting these community-based organizations is really where our timeline starts. Without these important partners, filling the pipeline of qualified candidates is going to be very difficult. So that is where this part of the presentation begins with recruitment. It all starts with community engagement. So these community-based organizations can come from a variety of different sources. They include but aren't limited to some of the icons that you see on your screen. For clarity, though, it's important to talk about some examples. The types of organizations that we'd be reaching out to help us source candidates would be nonprofits, also the navigators that we currently work with, faith-based organizations, especially within those communities that we're targeting for this first part of the program, as well as agencies. For example, the insurance department, and while not an agency, there's been a lot of interest from the insurance companies, the carriers themselves, to help support this as well. So we'd be working with them, potentially looking at staffing firms, community schools and colleges, especially the secondary education, where folks are at the right point in their careers, as well as the right age demographic. And we're also looking to forge, our relationships with brokers for this particular program too. That's a little bit different, right? But fits in the piece, the pie here, because we need those folks to help us with the apprenticeship portion of this program, as well as acting as mentors throughout. So all of these types of organizations are really going to be critical to us and really helping to fill that pipeline of qualified candidates. To that end, we're going to be working with these types of organizations to develop sponsorships. And that will enable the organizations that have shared goals with us to support this effort in a collaborative nature. Once we understand what they need from us in order to source the appropriate candidates, we will fulfill any kind of promotional materials that they need. At this point in time, we're thinking that it's going to be heavy in terms of printed as well as digital promotional materials so that they can help us conduct targeted outreach efforts. But we also don't want to limit ourselves. So we want to have some, things in play in terms of what we want to have planned, but we also want to be open to what these types of organizations need so that we can be the most successful together. It's a fully comprehensive and integrated effort So we'll be looking to kind of learn from what one organization needs from another and kind of apply that across the whole program. But ultimately, we'll be working with a wide variety of organizations to help us fill that candidate pipeline. Next slide, please. Okay, and so ultimately this nets out right in terms of the application process. Once we've worked with these organizations and they have that pipeline of candidates for us so that they can start to apply, we're also thinking right now about what that process is. That's why you see a timeline above kind of the first 4 steps that appear on your screen, starting with October 2021. This is going to go all the way through February of the next calendar year, but we've already gotten a jump on that process. So really the first part of it is candidate requirements. At this point in time, we're thinking about specific qualifications that will yield the appropriate pool for us. Some examples of that would be those folks who are 18 years or older, hopefully have a high school diploma. We're also thinking about adding a requirement for letters of recommendation, not from family members. And this is important because this will help us understand the skill set that they have and the network that they're working with. And since these folks will, in large part, come from the different organizations that we're working with to recruit the actual candidates, in theory, there should be a built-in, network of folks to tap that can help write those letters for them. Within those letters, the types of things that we're looking for are community involvement or service, communication skills, customer service skills. Those are the types of things that we're looking for to make sure that we're finding the right people to fill this program with. And then we turn to the application development. We're also thinking about this right now. So we have plans to add a form to our health equity webpage for applications, thinking about creating an email address so that we can have all the applications and information come into one area so we can stay organized. But when we think about health disparities and how this program is really going to help us fulfill that part of our mission, we need to make sure that this is not a digital only entry point. So it is going to require some type of paper application, and working with those community partners, perhaps our navigators and others that are open to being a source for providing that paper application process when and where there might be a technology barrier. Really want to make sure that this is well thought out from beginning to end, including that application process. And then once folks actually submit their applications, that's when selection criteria becomes most important. So at this point in time, we have that October to February 22nd date there because we're also starting with the selection criteria. At this point in time, we've identified a potential need for a committee to review applications. We're also thinking about the interview process. We're still in a COVID world. We've yet to fully emerge from this. And so we're hoping that we can do as much as possible, even in terms of the selection criteria and the interview process in person. But given the unpredictability of what's going on right now, we are taking that into account and making sure that we're building in both virtual and in-person opportunities for interviews. And we also are thinking about the acceptance and denial process, making sure that we can close the loop with people appropriately and communicate with them. So we won't be actually kicking off these efforts until the better part of the beginning of the next year. We really need to lay the foundation appropriately, and this is what we're working on right now. And then that nets out with the selection in that March to May area, which kind of refers back to that timeline that John walked you through. That's when we'll be making those decisions. And so we can jump right into the training and development for those candidates that make it through the process. That's a lot to take in. And so I'm happy to pause here and take any questions, and the team can help me field those too.
Any questions for us as it relates to the recruitment process?
This is Cece. Can you
Go
hear
ahead.
me?
Go ahead. Yep, go right ahead.
How do we sell this to potential candidates as an economic future? I mean, what is the process, and how do we talk to them about, stability in the market and income and all of the things that may be important to potential candidates?
So, Cece, I think Tammy is going to talk a bit more about that during her presentation. But
I can wait. I can wait.
Okay. Now we get into detail about that.
Okay.
in a few minutes. Are there any other questions, comments?
I was just going to ask James, you know, I guess this may be the point of the conversation where you perhaps clarify a little bit for us how we may be of help, especially in the recruitment side. So I think that would be really useful for us.
Yes, we wanted to mention also that the board members, specifically members of this committee, you will be a resource for us. I think if you go back to this previous slide, we talked about different organizations that we're going to go to, and one of them will be our board members. Will be our board members because we will make this available to everybody that could potentially give us candidates, strong candidates, because we need this and we want this to be very successful out the gate. So recruiting the right folks will give us the greatest possibility to be successful in achieving success. So Steve, people like you, CC, other members of the board who are engaged in the community day to day, the community members know you, you know them, they trust you, and we're going to trust the board members who, as well as other community leaders, to give us strong recommendations for people within their network that could be successful. Help us be successful. So the board will be a big part of this. People like Vicky and others on the board will be extraordinarily helpful in helping us identify who will be the best candidates to come through the program, become licensed brokers, and then go back to their communities, become a resource for their communities. And not just for their community, but also for themselves. Because as you know, the commission for policies that are sold through the exchange are $15 per member per month. So for every person you enroll, that's $15 a month for 12 months you get for that person. And if you enroll 1,000 individuals, which is not that challenging to do, that's $15,000 a month you get for an entire year, $180,000 a year. And you basically work for about 2 or 3 months to earn that money for the whole year. But it's a big lift, a lot of work. You got to hustle hard, but it does pay off. And you also become a resource for your community, not to mention the potential to grow your business. Once you have that base of customers, you could provide other services to them as well, like such as life, auto, home, so in other services that they may need. So the potential is great. As CC has indicated, the economic opportunity is huge for these brokers. So more to come on that, but definitely the board, this committee, and the other members of the board will be a big part of the recruiting process for us.
Great, thank you for that.
Tammy, you ready to go?
Yep. All set. All right, we can go to the next slide, please. Okay, so again, our first classes will be held in Bridgeport, Hartford, and New Haven areas. And we chose those locations to start with, particularly because these areas tend to have higher uninsured rates and increased health disparities. So for our first year, really isolating the programs to these 3 areas will allow us to have more control and the ability to work through any issues on a smaller scale as we implement the program for the first time. And it also allows us to help these communities that are typically the most underserved. So our plan is to have in-person classes for 3 days in June in each of these locations. Next slide, please. Okay, so again, the first class day will be June 1st, 2022 at all 3 locations. The first day will be an orientation day. This is when we will distribute laptops, which I'll get into on a later slide, materials, schedules, and we at this time will give an introduction, a presentation, an introductory presentation about Access Health and our goal for this program. Following orientation day, we will have a pre-licensing class from an outside vendor. We are still in the process of vetting companies, and obviously we will choose the one that fits our program needs the best. But following the end of this 2-day course, there will be an exam administered in which the trainees will have to pass with a 70 or higher. If they don't pass this exam, by the end of the class, there will be an opportunity for them to study over the next few weeks, which we've deemed that as the self-study period. That time could be used to retake that to retake that exam after class, or to continue on studying for your official exam. And during this time, during the self-study period, they will have access to online resources from the training company, such as practice exams, flashcards, study guides, and online support from specialists from the company that we choose. So after they take the certification exam, they'll receive a certificate of completion. And for the next slide, I will walk you through broker certification, and we'll cover apprenticeship during the placement phase. So finally, the testing and licensing portion of the program. After they complete the class, pass the initial exam, we will encourage them to apply for the official exam, which will be administered by a CID certified examination center. So in order for them to actually register for the exam, they have to complete that certificate at the end of the 2-day course. Just a few details on the exam format. Each major line exam is given in a multiple choice format. Passing score is 70%. And again, if they don't pass, they only have to wait 24 hours in order to retake the exam. So I know you're seeing a lot happening here in July, and that's because we really want to move them through this process right after completing the class. We really want them to get going on their exams as the information is at the top of their minds. And also, there's not a long wait time to take exams or retake exams. So dedicating a month to this process seems to be a good amount of time for them to get everything done. After their license, they will go through the Access Health broker certification process, which is about a week of training before moving into placement. This is the same certification process program that we use for all the brokers that we partner with. And we've also mentioned a stipend here, as they will be newly licensed brokers prior to apprenticeship. We've thought about giving them a stipend at this time. So this will really help them get started with their new careers, or it could go towards starting a business. We still are working through those details, but the goal here is to compensate those that complete the program, which will be a huge incentive. Not only do they get a new career and they get training for no cost, but they will receive some kind of stipend at the end of completing the program. Before I move into the next slide, do we have any questions on the training and development plan so far?
I have a question, and this may not be the right moment to ask this particular question, but I just want to get it out there. In terms of, as I look at your training and development strategy, I'm wondering if there is an opportunity for cross-training or cross-pollination with trusted members of community who may be engaged with community in other ways. So for instance, an additional certification, in addition to being say a community liaison for an agency or a community liaison for a town, say for instance, a financial advisor of some sort. These are all just things that are coming to my head, but I'm wondering if there's an opportunity for cross-pollination.
Steve, yes, there is. There is, but maybe something we could do in the next phase of this. But right now, we want to ensure that we have a solid foundation to get through this. But obviously, this is not going to be perfect. I mean, we designed it perfect. But execution, things happen. You have people coming in. We don't know how they're going to react to it. We hope to learn a lot from this initial. Then we'll build from there. And I agree with you. Those folks that's going to come through our program, get certified, become a resource, their communities will be going to them for everything, not just health insurance, for everything. So your point about maybe doing some other type of development training is well received, and we look forward to doing that. But we want to get through this, work out the kinks, and just start adding layers to it, so that when people come out of there, maybe bring some back. And at the next phase, we'll have more integrated training, so that there'll be even better resources, more informed resources for the communities. Because whether they want it or not, once people go through you for a service, they're going to keep going back to you for every question. And those folks, they want to be helpful to their community as well. So we want to inform them, give them the tools they need to become that resource for the community. Go ahead, Tammy. I'm sorry. Are there any other questions for Tammy about the exam broker certification? Yeah. All right, Tammy.
Okay, next slide. And we can actually move to that. Yep, perfect. Okay, so finally we get to placement. Placement will be in the form of an apprenticeship, right? So the goal is to have trainees complete a 3-month apprenticeship program with a broker, hopefully in the community that they're from, but really we will be vetting a lot of brokers throughout the states that are competent and able to take in mentors. So ideally, we would like them to be in the communities that they are from and that they will service, but we will be vetting brokers throughout the state that we work with. So we currently work with and certify hundreds of brokers throughout the state. We'll develop a criteria, a list of responsibilities and expectations for the brokers that we choose to participate in this program. And the vetting process, again, will be very critical, which is why we will really rely on our departments within Access Health that works closely with brokers like SHOP and our broker support team. The apprenticeship is set to end right in time for OE, and that is our big goal here. Hopefully we get them ready. There are a few options with how this post-apprenticeship will look like. We're still working through the details of that. After the apprenticeship, of course, they will be fully licensed, so it's possible that they work with brokers from their apprenticeship throughout OE. We've discussed placement in community organizations and within some of these communities, possibly going back to the community organization that worked with us during the recruitment process and somehow tying that all together. Or the trainees can really take the entrepreneurial route, start their own business, in which we would like to provide some kind of support to help them start that venture. So that could be in the form of a stipend, or we've spoken about providing classes on starting your own business. Still ideas that are being thrown in the air, but things that we are considering. So a lot of options. A lot of details that we still need to figure out once they've completed the apprenticeship. But that wraps up all the details I have for now. We are really continuing to push forward with all the other departments. I've been getting them all involved. HR is really helping us through the recruitment process, helping us with the interviews, how we can interview, how we can find the right candidates, doing background checks. Finance is working with us to build a financial model. And IT is helping us with all the website updates, and also tasked with providing refurbished Access Health laptops, which would go to the trainees, and these would be of no cost. They're laptops that we have currently at Access Health that our IT team would rebuild, and then we can issue to the students. So a lot of things are happening, but that's all we have for apprenticeship and post-apprenticeship. I'm open for any questions.
So Cece, going back to your question about how we're going to sell this to the community. So during the recruitment process, part of that discussion with the community leaders, part of the process was us setting up informational sessions, small groups, 10 to 12, 10 to 15 in community-based organizations, where we'll invite individuals, small businesses to come and participate. This is where we would have the conversations, you see, in particular, about the potential economic opportunity for future brokers. So we would have the conversation with let's say, for example, in Bloomfield, the biggest church in New England is in Bloomfield, Connecticut, First Cathedral. Bishop Bailey, he's an icon, not just in Bloomfield, but in the greater Hartford community. So if I go talk to Bishop, when I go talk to Bishop Bailey, say, look, we have this opportunity for you to nominate or give us individuals you think could be successful. This is about to involve in the program. But more importantly, this is the benefit to the community. This is the benefit to the individual. And this is where we go over all the details about the potential economic benefit to the individual, to the small business, also to the community that's part of his church. So this is when, again, they would invite, maybe have an informational session one of the evenings, maybe after church, or sometimes in the week that people would come in. We would talk with them. We would have a very well-produced slide deck. We would walk them through the whole process, what it looks like, and the opportunities that exist for themselves and their families, as well as for the communities that they would be serving. We think that could be very attractive. One of our goal is to have anywhere between 25 to 30 individuals in each of the cities to start out with, and to end. Well, actually, we want to end with 25 in each city. That's 75 new brokers. Wow. But for that to happen, we have to start with about 50 in each. And that's a heavy lift, because we anticipate there will be, like everything else in life, there will be attrition. Some people will drop out, they don't like it, it's not for them. But we want to end up with about 25, somewhere between 15 and 25 in each city. So that we'll have 15 to 25 brand new brokers in those communities working to help the communities out.
All right, thank you.
Thank you. And obviously, Mr. Chairman, our targeted audience, people of color, Black, Brown, and Latino communities is where we're going to be targeting to do our recruiting, because our data has shown us that those are the communities that are most lacking in brokers, in health insurance brokers, and also the highest uninsured and most impacted by health disparities.
James and Tammy, this is Paul Lombardo. Real quick, has there been any thought about area community colleges and universities?
Yes, that was one of the when Caroline talked about the organizations that we'd be reaching out to. One of them One of them were community schools. We
Okay.
left it at that level because there are some business schools like the Brantfords of the world
Right.
and community colleges. So that's why we didn't say community college, the community schools, schools that are developing people for a future in business, whether it's entry-level jobs. But we think that yes, we are. That is part of the conversation. And I have had conversations with the president of Capital and
Yeah.
Middlesex.
Yeah.
I've had conversations with those two presidents because I'm on a board with the president of Middlesex Community College, and I know the president of Capital Community College personally.
Yeah.
And they are very much interested in partnering with us. And we have a history with community college, with Capital Community, because we had partnered with them to develop candidates to work in our call center.
Great.
This was going back 6-7 years ago. So they paid for it. They had a grant, and we identified the candidates, type of program we needed. They took them, they trained them, and we still have about 8 of them still working with us now.
Great.
And so that's part of the conversation.
Excellent. Can I, Chairman Hernandez, can I make one more comment? What about folks that have been displaced from their employment now during COVID or general displacement from their jobs? Is there anywhere we can go and work with Department of Labor and find out if there's training centers or recruitment centers that we can reach out to in these communities that you're talking about?
Absolutely. That's I think Caroline had agencies on her list as one of the DOL is certainly one of the organizations that would reach out to, because we know they do specifically not only do, but they encourage unemployed individuals to get involved in programs like ours.
Right.
And they do a lot of community based opportunity development for employment and development across the state of Connecticut. So we will certainly partner with them as related to the greater Hartford, greater New Haven, and greater Bridgeport area.
Excellent.
Right. As you know, Paul, we already have a strong relationship with the DOL for making sure unemployed individuals get access to health insurance. So we think this is a natural fit for us.
That's excellent. And the last comment I'll make is vets with our agency for Veteran Affairs. I know they work really hard to place vets and get them jobs when they come out of the service. That would be another thought as well.
Excellent. I hadn't thought of that, but I'm a veteran myself, and I know how disciplined those guys are, how focused they are, and so I think there'll be a very good fit for our program.
Yeah. Excellent. Thanks.
Okay, thank you much, Mr. Chairman. Very quickly, the laptops that we will be using. This is a great use of our laptops. These are laptops that we don't use anymore. We purchased them. They're sitting and normally we give them away to 501c3 charitable organizations. Instead of giving them away, again, we're in the process of getting new laptops for the entire workforce because our technology demands it. So our IT department will go through all of the laptops that would otherwise be given away to other organizations, or dispose of them somehow, refurbish them, clean them out, and then basically make them brand new laptops for these candidates who will become brokers. So again, our aim is to make it as easy as possible to help these individuals go through the process to become a licensed broker, hopefully be unaware of an economic opportunity for themselves and their families, while they are helping their communities address health disparities as well as the uninsured rates. I know one of the questions we've gotten in the past is how we're going to fund for this. I've had conversations with a couple of foundations locally who have expressed interest and helping us to pay for this. But we do have money in our budget to finance the whole thing ourselves. But we will be applying for grants when and wherever we can. This because of the economic development part of this that CC mentioned in terms of training, developing, getting people licensed, and potentially making money for themselves and their families. We think there's an opportunity we could apply for the CEDC. They have grants for organizations who are training and developing people and to help them get. So we think there's an opportunity to get some funding from there, as well as a couple other foundations that I've spoken with. I have had conversations with brokers who are very excited about becoming mentors to help new brokers become gainfully employed. So I think we have a very aggressive schedule. We think that we have a team that's focused and energized. And just because that we are doing something that makes us feel good about the communities that we serve. So we are focused and driven by the mission of Access Health, of providing an opportunity for those who have been marginalized and hopefully make a change in their lives as well as in their communities. So that's where we are.
Great, thank you, James. That's very thoughtful.
Mm-hmm.
I have no other questions at the moment, James. I don't know if anyone else, any of my other colleagues do.
This is Cece again. I'd just like to thank the staff for this high-level specificity, and I think it's very helpful to go through one issue, one strategic approach in a meeting so that we can fully flesh it out. And this has been very helpful. I think I truly understand this now, so thank you.
Thank you much. And again, we have meetings scheduled every month specifically for this purpose. So we will come back to more as more information become available. As we put more meat on the bone, to use John's term, we will come back to the committee, give you more details, so that so that you would not be surprised, especially when we start recruiting. We want to talk to the committee, give you specific strategy. This is what we're going to do over the next 3 months to do recruiting. Do you have anywhere in specific that you want us to go? And I may be, either myself or Tammy, may be reaching out to specific board members to get their input as to areas that we should look into to get good strong candidates to recruit.
Okay.
So, Mr. Chairman, I think this was it for us in terms of presentation, but I know we have a meeting on the calendar for December. If we have any new information, we will do a presentation, give you more detail. If not, we'll come back to you in January.
Now, just one final question, James. Do you anticipate having any update, any further presentation on this particular initiative at our next meeting of the board?
So I was going to talk to you about that. At this point, I'm not so sure we're ready to give it into the board.
Okay.
All right, because this is committee level. We don't have a final product yet. This is, hey, this is where we are. This is what we're doing. What are your thoughts? So we're going to incorporate them into once we have a finished product, that should have February, March at the latest. Then that's when we're going to start the recruiting process. That's when we go to the board, let the board know this is what we're doing and how we're going to do it based on the strategy committee's input and approval.
Great. Well, on behalf of the committee, I have to tell you, I'm really, I appreciate your strategy here. I appreciate the fact that you're giving us the runway for us to continue to consider until you go to the full board. And I want to reiterate what Cece said, which is the depth of your presentation today early on is really helpful for us as a committee. Thanks again to you and your staff.
Thank you very much. Greatly appreciate that.
Great. Unless there's anything further, and I wonder if there is, but if there's not, I'd like to entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved, Paul Lombardo.
Seconded, Grant.
Roll call, Steve Hernandez,
Yes.
Ron Rader,
Yes.
Paul Lombardo,
Yes.
and CC Woods.
Yes.
Thank you so much.
Great. Thank you to my
Thank you.
fellow board members.
Thank
and
you,
thank you
everyone.
all of you.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Okay.
Care.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.